Hey Grand Adventurers, welcome back. I'm your host Mark Guido, and we're spending this week in beautiful Sowchea Bay Provincial Park, exploring the historic area of Fort St. James, British Columbia. Come along. This episode of Grand Adventure is sponsored by etrailer.com, where you'll find thousands of products for RVing, towing, camping, outdoor recreation, vehicles, boating, and more. Click the link in the video description or scan the code on your screen to shop etrailer.com with Grand Adventure. Situated in the northern interior of British Columbia, Canada, Stuart Lake is massive, 41 miles long and over 6 miles wide. It's nevertheless relatively shallow, with an average depth of 85 feet. The area is characterized by severe snowy winters and short warm summers, and the lake remains ice-covered from mid-December until early May each year. During the area's brief summer, it's home to a variety of recreational activities, including boating, canoeing, kayaking, swimming, and sunbathing on sandy beaches, one of which is right here where we're camping at Sowchea Bay. This 32-acre provincial park is open from mid-May until the beginning of September and is centered around 30 dry campsites, 12 of which are reservable for $20 Canadian per night, or $14.57 US at today's exchange rate. Once a forestry campsite, the site layout is not built to the current BC park standard. Maneuvering among the thick trees is tricky to say the least, and narrow roads and obstacles made this what may be the most difficult spot I've ever gotten our RV into. All sites line the lakefront sand and gravel beach, with tremendous views across Stuart Lake, and there's a single-lane concrete boat launch to accommodate those with a boat. Forget solar power in this thick forest, which also interferes with Starlink, as this far north, Starlink looks to the south for its satellites instead of north. No one's in swimming right now because they're experiencing an outbreak of swimmer's itch. The campground is divided roughly in half by the entrance road. We're in the sites to the west, whereas the sites to the east are much closer together. Stuart Lake contains rainbow trout, char or lake trout, whitefish, kokanee, dowie varden, burbot fish, and in deeper areas, anglers will find a protected population of sturgeon. The Stuart River, into which the Stuart Lake drains, is home to one of the largest sockeye salmon runs in the world. Access to the campsites at Parents Beach, just a mile or so to the east, is somewhat broader, although the campground road separates most of the 39 dry vehicle accessible sites here from the lakeshore. Rates here cost $22 Canadian per night or $90 per week. Parents Beach also has a day use area that Sowchea Bay does not. While we're dry camping at Sowchea Bay with our friends Dale and Pat, Ed and Ann of Eddie at Large opted for the hookups available down the road at Pickett Bay Resort. Here, most of the 20 campsites that range from dry camping to full hookup semicircle around a small motel, separating the campsites from the resort's beach and marina. Prices here range from $35 to $55 Canadian per night, depending on site and hookups, or in US dollars, $25, $50 to $40. After nearly 8 years on the road, we're now pretty good at making our 50-gallon freshwater tank last an entire week. So I'm stumped at how we somehow emptied our tank at Sowchea Bay in just 2 days. So I filled our 45-gallon pillow tank at Parents Beach, broke out the 7-way power adapter that we made in our episode 399, and am using our liquid transfer pump to move the water from our pillow tank to refill our rig's empty freshwater tank. We'll explore historic Fort St. James right after a brief message from our valued video sponsor, etrailer. Whether you need products for your RV, boat, trailer, vehicle, hunting and fishing, off-roading, and more, our video sponsor etrailer has you covered. Best of all, you'll find over 100 US-based enthusiast customer service reps ready to help via phone, chat, or email, both before and after the sale. These folks have used themselves the products that you're shopping for, and you won't find a more knowledgeable team anywhere to help you with your outdoor project. Click the link in the video description or scan the code on your screen to shop etrailer.com with Grand Adventure. Stuart Lake is important to British Columbia history, with its eastern end being the location of one of the oldest non-native settlements in the province, Fort St. James. The first non-native to visit the lake was James McDougall in 1806, acting as an assistant to Simon Fraser. From 1805 through 1808, Fraser and his assistants were charged by the Northwest Company with exploring potential river routes to the Pacific Ocean. Stuart Lake proved to be a lucrative locale for fur trading, with the tackle or carrier people, so Fraser and other members of his expedition soon established a company trading post here, only the second in Canada west of the Rocky Mountains. It became the center of the Northern Fur Trade District. They left behind for the winter a garrison led by clerk John Stuart, in whose honor the English name of the lake was given. The fort, now a National Historic Site maintained by Parks Canada, was rebuilt 4 times and continued as an important trading post until its closure in 1952. Buildings still standing here date to the 1880s, as Canada's largest collection of wooden buildings faithfully restored to the fur trade era as they appeared in 1896. Costumed interpreters provide visitors with fascinating facts and history about the buildings throughout the site. Here, on the ceiling of the fur warehouse, you can actually see the oiled fingerprints of the men who built this building. This graffiti on the walls is all original. If you look closely on the walls of the men's house, you can see the alphabet up near the ceiling and numbers below it from the 1 year that this building served as a school. About 1/4 of the population of the greater Fort St. James area identify as being of First Nations origin, and the town is surrounded by numerous small First Nations communities and Indian reserves. Fort St. James has several lumber mills, as do several smaller Aboriginal communities in the basin. There are limited services available here for RV travelers, including 2 small grocery stores, fuel, propane, and hardware. Overlooking Stuart Lake, Our Lady of Good Hope Church was built in 1878. It is one of the oldest wooden Catholic churches in British Columbia. This cabin behind the church is where Father Maurice printed prayer books and newspapers for the native people. In late 1940s, Fort St. James became an important floatplane base, providing service to mining and forestry operations, as well as trapping and hunting interests deep in the woods to the north. This Marion steam shovel was brought to the Fort St. James area in the mid-1930s by Thomas A. Kelly. It traveled under its own steam to Fort St. James, then barged to Tocla Landing for its final 19 miles to Tom Creek. The shovel was transported to Cottonwood Park in Fort St. James in 1994, restored and preserved as a tribute to the pioneer families who contributed to the growth and development of the region during the first half of the 20th century. The town operates Cottonwood Municipal Campground year-round on the waterfront of Stuart Lake. There are a total of 10 campsites, 4 with 50 amp and 6 with 30 amp power hookups. Rates are $35 per night or $175 per week for the waterfront sites, and $30 per night or $150 per week for the sites back from the water, with all prices in Canadian dollars. Campers can rent a paddleboard or launch boats at the municipal marina just a few hundred yards away. While in Fort St. James, we gathered at a local pub to celebrate Ed's birthday on the road. The bar was giving away one of these, which with the region's long frigid winters is probably the de facto seasonal attire around here.
Hey, birthday boy.
I'm not looking.
Birthday boy.
Yes, sir.
Nobody has enough candles.
Right. There's supposed to be a lot more candles on there.
Thank you for the candle.
Thank you.
Thank you, dear. Happy birthday to you.
Speaking of Fort St. James in winter, the Murray Ridge ski area was founded by the community in the 1970s and lies just a few miles north of town. Its base to summit T-bar, said to be the longest in North America, runs 4 days per week, providing over 1,700 vertical feet of runs for all ability. Get ready to place your bets, for we're about to bring you to some racing action in Fort St. James, right after we take a brief ad break, so stay tuned. We've returned to the Fort St. James National Historic Site to witness one unique and popular event that takes place every summer day at 11:30 a.m. In lanes, lined with chicken wire, of course. Plucky birds race for the finish, while crowds bet chicken bucks on their favorite. While the contestants warm up and stretch for their 3 scheduled races, attendees line up at the betting window to place their wagers. And they're off. Following the third race, winners return to the betting window to collect their winnings. It's now time for us to get packed up and head off for a brief stay in Quesnel, British Columbia. So if you're not yet a grand adventurer, there is no better time than right now for you to go smash that little subscribe button right down there in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. And ring that notification bell to be sure that you never miss a grand adventure, which we premiere right here every Wednesday evening. We'd be honored if you shared the channel with your friends, family, and on social media. Understand, it's extremely important to us that if you like this episode from Sowchea Bay Provincial Park, please be sure to give us a huge thumbs up down below. And while you're down below, that's where you'll find the comment section where we love to hear from you each and every week. So until next Wednesday from Quesnel, British Columbia, please remember, life is nothing but a grand adventure. We'll see you then.